It's finally that time of the season, time for my FNCS Grand Finals predictions. And this season, there's going to be a lot at stake as this is the last chance to qualify to the huge $2 million FNCS Global Championship LAN. And on both NA and EU, there will be 10 teams that qualify to the FNCS Global Championship in FNCS Grand Finals this season. But before I get into my predictions, I'm going to only be going over the NA predictions in this video, as this season, I just really haven't watched EU enough to really care or know enough to feel confident predicting. So instead, I'm going to give you the greatest NA predictions of all time, in which we will have no wrong predictions and predict the FNCS winner right and all 10 LAN teams correct. And there's also a lot of big names to talk about on NA, as in the lobby this weekend, there will be 22 different FNCS winners and 52 total FNCS wins between them, and it's shaping up to be one of, if not the most stacked FNCS Grand Finals lobby of all time. So many all-time greats in one lobby, and three of the players who are most known for being the so-called GOAT of Fortnite, and Mero, Bugha, and Tayson all in one lobby. And now it's time we take a look for the drop map for NA this weekend and go over my predictions for FNCS Grand Finals. And the team that I think is going to take home the victory and place first in FNCS Grand Finals this season on NA is Peterbot and Poyo. Yes, I think Peterbot and Poyo are going to go back to back. I think it's going to be a combination of them landing the best drop spot, redline rig, and getting the best gun in the game, the Mythic Combat AR, and also having the shield medallion. I think Peterbot and Poyo are playing really well right now, and I think they are getting close to the form they were at last season when they won. And I honestly think this Grand Finals isn't going to be close yet again, and I think Peterbot and Poyo are going to be the first duo to win back-to-back FNCSs on NA. And to be honest, this prediction really isn't close to me. I don't really think there's a team that can match Peterbot and Poyo, especially in the 2-day format with 1.5 times points on day 2. I think Peterbot and Poyo are just going to absolutely dominate once again and win pretty convincingly. But after first place, though, is where it gets very, very interesting. In second place, I have Kanata and Cooper, who are landing at another Mythic POI. They're landing at the Nitrodrome. And the reason I have them so high, even though the Nitrodrome doesn't really have a useful medallion, and it also doesn't have a mythic weapon, Kanata and Cooper have the best drop spot for Surge. Every single game, they're almost 1,000 above. And we all know Surge is the biggest thing in FNCS Grand Finals. And with that, I think Kanata and Cooper are going to be the most consistent team outside of Peterbot and Poyo this weekend. And I think they're going to take home second. Now, there definitely are a couple teams I think that could compete with Kanata and Cooper for second. But I just think with the combination of this duo already top 3ing last season and having one of the best drop spots, if not the best drop spot for Surge, I think they're going to get second. Then next in third, I have Tayson and Iamzo. Our first EU and NA combined duo. Tayson and Iamzo are also landing mid-map in the desert, and if you've been following this season at all, being in the desert is the place where you want to be for Surge, getting the slurp cactuses and just fully trading for Surge. Tayson and Iamzo haven't really looked the same as the first couple tournaments of the season where they were starting to look like maybe the best team on the region, but I think in Grand Finals, Tayson and Iamzo will put it all together and get a really good placement in top 3. And to be honest, it's just really hard to go against these really good desert teams. Then next in fourth place, we have Batman, Bugha, and Rapid, arguably the best team going into the weekend based on results so far this season. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid have looked really sharp all season long, but I just think their drop spot landing Grim Gate is really going to affect them when it comes to FNCS Grand Finals. They don't land the desert like a lot of these top teams, and I just think they're not going to be able to be as consistent as the other 3 teams I put ahead of them. But I can see Batman, Bugha, and Rapid placing even higher than this weekend because they've looked very, very sharp all season long, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they did even better than this. Then next in fifth, I have Clix and Vino. Clix and Vino are just like Tayson and Iamzo. At one point, they were looking like the best duo a couple weeks ago. Then they kind of slowed down with the last duo Cash Cup we had last week. And also with FNCS semifinals, they kind of had a bit of a rough week, but I think they'll place really well in Grands. If they get a couple wins this weekend, I could definitely see them getting top 3, top 2, and even winning depending on how many wins they get. But at the same time, I feel like when Peterbot and Poyo are in the same lobby as Clix and Vino, I think they just perform slightly worse. So I think with Peterbot and Poyo looking as good as they are currently, I think it's going to make Clix and Vino perform slightly worse and make that high ground just a little bit more difficult for Clix and Vino. So I think they're going to fall in 5th place, which is still a really good placement for them. Then next in 6th place, we have our first contested team, Acorn and Cold. Acorn and Cold are actually currently triple conned at the Brutal Beachhead, so this is why I actually have them at 6th place. If Acorn and Cold were uncontested, I would probably have them 2nd or 1st, as I think Acorn and Cold and Peterbot and Pollo are just a class ahead of everyone else on the region. But it sucks to see Acorn and Cold triple contested. Are they actually going to be triple contested this weekend? I honestly doubt it, but we're going to have to see how that plays out and see if they actually are triple contested. But I think 6th place while triple contested would be a very good placement for them. Moving on in 7th place, I have Re and Ritual, Uncon, Reckless Railways. And the reason I have them in 7th place is I think Re and Ritual just haven't really looked as good this season compared to last season. And that was partially due to the fact that in the first couple tournaments, Re and Ritual were keying the Surge Tower, which Bryce and Bolts land at. But since then have kind of moved on from that strategy and play a bit different. But the reason I have Re and Ritual in 7th place is once again, they are just not really landing near the desert. And I think the Slurp Cactuses are going to be key. 4 teams placing well this weekend, which sucks, but that's just the meta. So I think 7th is a pretty good spot for Re and Ritual this weekend. And next in 8th place is pretty much the same exact story. I have Aviv and Booga who are landing up at Classy Courts. And Aviv and Booga have gotten absolutely no zones this season, I feel like. FNCS Qualifier 1 and FNCS Qualifier 2 proved that statement as well, as they literally only got like 1 zone in 12 games in the qualifiers. So I think Aviv and Booga's grand solely is going to rely on how many zones they get this weekend. I'm hoping they get some zones, but basing it off of the tournaments we've had, the North POIs just don't really pull that much. So we're just going to have to see how Aviv and Booga perform. But next in 9th place, I have Bryce and Bolts, who I just mentioned a little bit ago with the Re and Ritual forecast fight. I think Bryce and Bolts have been one of the best duos as of recent. I feel like in scrims, they're always placing really well, and I think they're going to translate that to grand finals this weekend. And they also played very, very well in FNCS semifinals last weekend. And I've also been saying this for like a year now. Bryce is probably the most underrated player once again on NA. Last year, he was the most underrated player on NA and placed the best at LAN outside of Cooper and Marrow. And once again, I think he's just going to have that sneaky 9th place, qualify to the LAN, and then play really well at the LAN as well. Moving on in 10th place, I have Adriz and Rise. This is a duo that had a lot of expectations going into the season, but wasn't really reaching those expectations. And this is a duo that's actually been playing better as of recent. But I just think there's some teams better than them. But also at the same time, I do think they could do better than this. They're landing a really solid drop mid-map, and I could definitely see them doing way better than a 10th place. But I think a 10th place is fair for how they've been playing this season. Next in 11th place, I have another cross-region duo. We have Pink and Marrow. This is a duo that's also been kind of underperforming this season. But this is also a duo who I didn't have the highest expectations on heading into the season either. But I think going into the season, 11th place is probably where I would have had this duo. So it sounds about right, and I like this spot for them. Then in 12th, I have Trashy and Threats, who are landing Pleasant Piazza. And this is a duo that just started playing right before FNCS semifinals. And I think Trashy and Threats will look good this weekend Uncon, and also getting that bunker Uncon as well at Pleasant. So I'm expecting Trashy and Threats to easily qual to the LAN. Then in 13th, we have Crisp and Noxy, a duo that made LAN last year, and a duo who I think is going to make LAN again. They're going to be landing up by Classy Courts, and with Oliver being contested next to them, I think they could get some free Surge, or maybe even some free eliminations off of that fight if it drags out. And I think Crisp and Noxy are going to feed off of that, and that's going to help boost them into making the LAN. But also, like I said with Booga, they're probably not going to get any zones at all. So we're going to have to see how this plays out for Crisp and Noxy this weekend, as these really far north teams are about to run an absolute marathon every single game. But moving on to 14th, I have the OC duo Alex and Worthy. We haven't really gotten to see much of Alex and Worthy. They've barely qualified to any set lobby finals and also went back to OC during that 2-week break. So we also didn't really get to see them scrim that much either. But I think Alex and Worthy Uncon should get top 15 pretty easily. At the FNCS Global Championship last year, they showed that they could place well when the lobby's pretty stacked. So I'm definitely not worried about that, but I don't really have much this season to go off of for them. So I'm just going to say 14th, which I think is a pretty good spot. And then with how I've done my predictions, the top 10 teams to qualify to the LAN would move down to the top 15, and the last qualifier spot for the LAN would go to the 15th team. And I think in 15th place, it will be Mongrel and Mr. Savage, a duo that has improved so much, and I think they deserve to make the LAN with how much they've been preparing and how much they've been grinding. And also Mongrel happens to just be one of the best DMR players in the game, and he's one of the best players at getting Surge. So I think this team uncontested, and they are actually uncontested because Death and Edgy did move, and they are actually triple conning the split next to Vino as of right now. So Mongrel, Mr. Savage should be uncontested in grands. And I think with that should get a top 15 and qualify to the LAN. And if it's not them, I definitely see it being either Muzz and Epic Well or Sphinx and Dukes. But I think with how much Mongrel and Mr. Savage have been grinding and how much they've been improving every single week, I think it could very well be them qualifying to the LAN. But overall, the 10 teams that I have qualifying for the FNCS Global Championship this season, I have Tayson and Iamzo, Batman Booga and Rapid, Clix and Vino, Aviv and Booga, Bryce and Bolts, Agers and Rise, Pink and Marrow, Trashy and Threats, Crisp and Noxy, and Mongrel and Mr. Savage. Now I want you guys to comment down below your predictions for this weekend, and also let me know what you think about my predictions. I can't wait for this weekend. It's going to be one of the best grand finals ever for sure. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss an upload and always be caught up on what's happening inside competitive. And also, if you guys want, I'm going to be streaming NA FNCS Grand Finals this weekend on both YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to stop by, it's the same name on each platform. And if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot if you dropped a like on it so more people could see my predictions. And also, if you guys want to see the drop map that I've been showing in this video, make sure to join my Discord, which will be down in the description below. And there you can find every NA drop map for every single tournament, and also some other cool stats and info. Thank you guys for all the support recently, and also thank you for watching this video going over my predictions for NA Grand Finals and which 10 teams I think will make LAN. Stay tuned for a video about the Duos Cash Cup, which is happening the next 2 days, and videos about FNCS Grand Finals as well. That's it for me in this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.